Next, I'd like to welcome James Mathews. When I speak to James, I realize that he's a fountain of knowledge when it comes to healthcare and healthcare startups in India. There's no one really who knows more about healthcare and companies, smaller companies and larger companies in this space. So you should, if you haven't had a chance to talk to James before the event, you should certainly catch him after the event. James is the chairman of Health 2.0. James is an accomplished healthcare technology executive with more than 20 years of experience in business development, sales, and marketing. Most recently, at Sage Healthcare, James was responsible for identifying strategic growth opportunities with emerging technologies, including Google Health, Microsoft HealthWorld, and Voxiva. James serves as an advisor for various healthcare and technology organizations, including Health 2.0 and the Rockefeller Foundation Advisory Group on Health, IT, and others. If you want to hang with James, you can find him at Hummingbird, Humming Tree in Indiranagar, and when he's not working, he's coaching his kids to be international basketball players. Welcome to James.
Thanks, Anita. Is that going to work? It will? Okay. Thank you, Vinita. Niranjan, thank you for putting this together, and Aryan for Hive Data and what you're trying to do in the marketplace. Good evening, everybody. I'm James Mathews, and I live in Kochi. I was born in the US, moved to India when I was young, then escaped as soon as I could, went to college, worked. My whole career has been in healthcare. I actually have 52 slides in my slide presentation. But don't worry. I wanted to test and see, is this a reasonable crowd or is this an unreasonable crowd? You want to hear reasonable things from me or you want to hear unreasonable things from me? Let's take a vote. Who wants to hear unreasonable things? Good. Okay. So you will pardon as I skip through some slides. Okay. So the reasonable folks, we can talk later and we can argue. I have a lot of data. I have PowerPoint slides and things like that, but I wanted to open your eyes because my eyes, like I said, my whole career has been in healthcare, working in doctors' offices. I have been in the fields in Africa, in the Middle East, here in India, trying to define the future of healthcare for big companies. The last 8 years, I've spent helping companies design the future of healthcare by collaborating and impacting human lives. The reason why I'm very unreasonable these days is because 2 years ago, this month, April, I had to sit in a room and have a doctor look at me and say I had leukemia. And when he said I had leukemia, my whole world changed. And I had this 20-year plan laid out. I had been traveling around the world, getting my ego stoked about all the accomplishments I had done, and the only thing that mattered to me right then was my wife and kids. And you start parsing life through a different lens when a doctor tells you you have leukemia. And the good news is he was wrong, but I didn't know that. I didn't know that for 3 years, for 3 weeks. I didn't know he was wrong. And I went through test after test. My family was dragged through so much torture in those 3 weeks. And I made promises to God that said, if you give me 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, 60 years, this is what I'm going to do. So after I knew I didn't have leukemia, I quit my job. And what I've been trying to do the last 2 years is find a way for companies like EMC and Microsoft and GE and Medtronic to work with Sujata, who is a budding entrepreneur. I don't know who you are, I just heard your name. And they're Punacha here. You'll hear from him in just a minute. And there are countless other entrepreneurs doing great work around the world, even here in India, in healthcare. And I'm going to make a statement that you guys probably don't know most of what's happening around you. And so I'm certainly going to talk about the business of healthcare. I'm going to talk about big data. I'm going to talk about all the stats. I'm going to show you some companies. But I hope at the end of this talk that your eyes are opened, because your future involves healthcare, whether it's part of your career or whether it's part of your life. Our parents, us, we will all encounter the healthcare system. If for some reason God created you to be the perfect human being and you never get sick, there's somebody in your circle of friends that will get sick. So we are all consumers, and we all intersect with the business of healthcare. So I'm going to flip through some things, and my job is to open your eyes, and the rest of the presenters behind me will be a little bit more reasonable than me. Is that okay? All right. Health 2.0. I've been introduced as a chairman of Health 2.0. I want to correct something. I am the chairman of Health 2.0 India. Health 2.0, very much like Hive, is an organization based in San Francisco that is doing the things that I just talked to you about. You can read up here. Over 15,000 attendees at conferences, $6 million in prizes. Companies like EMC, companies like SAP, Microsoft, putting up $100,000 to go solve a specific problem so entrepreneurs can put their thinking caps on and solve the problem. You may not start a company, but you may solve a problem. And so that's what we're trying to do. 70 chapters around the world and growing. And it is an incredible community of people doing good. Look it up when you can, Health 2.0. Entrepreneurial efforts in healthcare is happening around the world, even here in India. Last year, according to Rock Health, $1.9 billion were invested in startups. And the investor trends and themes of that $1.9 billion, you can see here in the top middle box, it says analytics and big data. But the truth is, all of those boxes are tied to data. Where does India sit in the middle of this? India is in an incredible place because of its relationship with the US particularly and the rest of the world, and our population, our needs, and our need as Indians to develop value-based or low-cost innovation. So I was recently, 6 months ago, I gave an orientation to a World Economic Forum delegation here in Bangalore who came to India from all over the world, 25 people. I gave them orientation to what was happening here in India around healthcare. They then spent the next week going and visiting places to see it happen. And there's a continuing, ongoing process where their main objective is to understand what's happening here, take the pieces that they can, and engineer the same processes with the same ideas, modified just a bit, to drive innovation where they come from. So data plays a huge part in this effort. And so here's where I want to take you. Remember, we're unreasonable. So if you're expecting bullet points and concise data, you're going to be disappointed. Does anybody know where this is? Mumbai. Where? It's Four Seasons. If you haven't gone to the Four Seasons rooftop bar, you should. How do you design healthcare for people? I've been there. For people who live a life working in SAP, living the lives that we do, going to places like this, and then just down the street, this is happening. How do you design a healthcare system? I don't know if the healthcare system is broken. I think our world is a bit broken, and trying to layer something uniform around that is different. But when you look at this picture, what do you see? Tell me what you see. Anybody? That's right. You're rare. What's your name? What's your name? EP? Most people, heart sinks when they see this picture. But she's getting ready for school. And if you're able to see that she's getting ready for school, there is hope. And that's what data can do. Data is not just about information and knowledge. It's about wisdom and saying, wow, she's getting ready for school. That's a great thing. It's too bad it's in this concrete cylinder. And it's too bad it's right down the street from Four Seasons. But in the end, that's what we have to do with data. And you know, the magic mirror. And here's a problem with the magic mirror. It's a wonderful thing. But I won't stand in front of the magic mirror, because if I stood in front of the magic mirror, it would know that I had 10 jalebis yesterday. And I'm the only one that needs to know that. So we're dealing with humans. You know, so when we talk about data and knowledge and all this stuff, there's just some things I don't want to know. Arihan put the screen up there for 23andMe. I was one of the first people that was asked to spit in a tube and have my DNA analyzed. And I went to what's called a spit party. And I was about to spit in it, and I didn't, because I was scared. My grandmother had Alzheimer's. My grandfather had diabetes. My grandmother, too, she died early because of complications of diabetes. My dad had a stroke when he was 47. I'm 46 right now. My mom has diabetes. I don't want to know. Because what if it's wrong? I don't want to know. So you're dealing with humans. So when you talk about data and health, there's a lot more in between that we have to innovate around to bring those pieces together. And that's where the complications come, but there's also where the opportunity comes. And we talk about software, and I don't talk about software anymore. These are the three things that I talk about. Data, design, because when you design for 4 seasons and the girl in the tube, then you're going to get somewhere. Design is important. Networks. We're living in a network society today. How does learning happen in a network society? Why are we still going? Why are you listening to me right now? Why do you have to be here right now? Why aren't you in your car or at home? Why do we have to still send? So how do you create knowledge in a network society? We haven't rethought learning yet, and we must, and we can in healthcare. And so, like Niranjan said also, you know, health is life. So let's talk about data in healthcare with that perspective. I'm going to go through these perspectives. Let me tell you where these efforts are happening. Liquid spaces. Places like Microsoft Accelerator, or GSF, or Startup Village in Kochi, where I live, where entrepreneurs like Sujata can go with their idea, not be laughed at, maybe be rejected for investment, but not be laughed at, and given resources to help take that idea to the next step. That's what I hope EMC will start doing. Spaces that bring ideas together and encourage them to keep flowing. Maybe give them money, maybe give them mentors. Experimentation. Get out of the lab and get to Arvind Eye Institute, who sees 3 million patients a year, and their mission is to serve the poor. They're healing people that are blind. Take your innovation there, see if it'll work. So that's what we do. We open the doors for entrepreneurs to do that. Here in Bangalore, how many of you have seen the billboards or know of Cloud9 Hospital? They're doing tremendous work. Isha Tiwari is the CMO there. Their mission is to have 0 infant mortality. And if you understand the stats in India about infant mortality, it is unacceptable. There are too many babies dying. Still today, in this day and age, there are too many babies dying at birth. Cloud9's mission is to figure out how to keep it at 0, and they have succeeded so far. Let's go innovate and take our startup ideas over there. So those are the doors that we open. And shared perspective. What kills innovation a lot is when EMC and Microsoft and SAP, I don't know why I'm picking these 3 companies, I'm just picking those 3 companies, and startups and Government of India and World Health Organization, they all embark on a project. And you know where innovation and health and life gets killed? Is when everybody wants their name at the head of it. It's our project. Collaboration and shared perspective means sometimes you do the hardest work and never get the recognition. And so where are those spaces? Those are the spaces where we go right now. And they exist here in India. Diabetes, embarrassing. India, the 2nd largest population, soon to be number 1. Here's the innovation that's happening around it. How many of you have heard of Diabeto? Diabeto is a company based in Mumbai. They're revolutionizing how diabetics are able to manage their chronic illness. My mother's a diabetic, and oftentimes we get a call, oh, mommy's been admitted into the hospital. And we rush, she's in a village setting, we rush to the hospital, and you know what happened? Mommy didn't take her insulin. And there were 3 or 4 weddings, so she had, in Kerala, after the rice, they serve paisam and a lot of things. So 3 or 4 weddings, and she didn't take her insulin, and that was the reason. But you know what the ridiculous thing is? Is every day she's poking herself, and she's reading it, and she's the only one seeing it. Why? Why can't her doctor see that reading? We have mobile technologies, all the things Niranjan listed up there. The mobile, the cloud, the devices, everything is there. Why doesn't her doctor have that information, and before she gets to a point she needs to be admitted, an SMS is sent to me, her son, and I'm calling, Mom, have you been going to weddings? I can prevent that. Diabeto helps me do that now. Here in India, innovation here in India. Data, big data for my mom. Health, life. Biosense, look up these companies. Many people in villages, to get a diagnostic lab test done, they have to go to the city or a town. Biosense is building innovative products that allow diagnostic lab tests to be completed in the home or by a lay worker. Here, again, a Mumbai-based company. Aging population. When our parents get admitted into the hospital, or somebody gets admitted for some chronic illness and they're discharged, what happens? Are you in constant touch with the hospital, the doctor today? Anybody? We're shaking our heads. But I thought we had the mobile, the cloud, the network society. I thought we had all that. And I thought we're talking about human lives. Well, iSensus is changing that. Look them up. They're discharging patients with devices, so when they're home, the doctor can still be connected. Big data, health, life. Track My Beat is another company doing the same thing. Indian companies. Lack of physicians, 1.2 billion people. Praxify is an EHR company based in Pune. Has gone through the Microsoft Accelerator, and they're aiming to collect everybody that's associated with the healthcare ecosystem. CycleTel, for those that don't have smartphones. Georgetown University is doing an amazing project in Delhi among the poor using SMS-based phones to help with family planning and women's health. Look them up. We don't like to talk about this, but I have 3 kids, 3 teenagers. I don't know what's going on in their life, but let me tell you what's happening in our world today. You know what has risen, at least documented, it certainly is more than this. You know what has risen over 270% over the last 2 years among young people? A condition? Suicide. That's scary. That's scary. People are depressed. We need to know they're depressed. We need to get them help. We need to address those things. 360 Living, MDill, here in Bangalore, 2 companies based are helping people with that. Fiternity is building a fitness-based ecosystem and community in Mumbai, and they want to expand to other, those of you who love to work out and want to compete with each other virtually. Do we need fitness trackers? You've heard of Nike Fuel Band, Jawbone Up, all these, I think Arihant had a Fitbit on his slide. But here in Bangalore, we have Get Active. Manufactured, developed, created, everything here. This is India's Fitbit. I don't know if you knew it existed. I don't even know, they're trying to get to employers and help with that piece. Design is important. If you're going to look at big data, you better keep the human component inside of it. So if you have not studied human-centered design, you should. here are some of the liquid spaces that I was talking about before. Microsoft, Accelerator, Startup Village, GSF. There's plenty of places to go. Not all of them are investing in healthcare, but they'll listen to your they'll listen and take your application and then send you to places like us that will help you. XPRIZE is coming to India. Other examples. 23andMe, Arihan gave that example. We have our own in India. Map My Genome, based out of Hyderabad. Personalized medicine. Dr. Reddy's is trying to find ways to engage patients. PharmaSecure is helping the counterfeit trade. There are many, China is creating pharmaceutical products and shipping them with made in India labels to Europe. PharmaSecure is protecting Indian pharmaceutical companies. And now they're turning their attention to the data that they've collected to help public health officials. Delhi-based company. Bangalore and Stanford-based company, Embrace. Infant mortality, keeping young babies warm in cold weather in huts all around the world. No electricity, nothing. Beautiful, my favorite innovation. And I'll kind of end right here and let you guys know. So I wanted to overload you. I could show you 200 plus companies around that are going to do great things that are based here in India. I didn't show you any foreign companies. And so it's happening. So I wanted to open your eyes to what was happening. I wanted to let you know things are happening. But I also wanted to say one last thing. Sometimes it's not the doctor and it's not school and it's not other folks that we think traditionally that are the best communicators of health information. In India, a lot of people talk about unreached populations. There's nobody that's unreached because I guarantee you Bollywood and cricket has reached everybody in India. One of those two have reached everybody in India. Sometimes we need to partner up with them. So we have spent the last year producing movies, working with the NBA and other folks to partner with them using the mediums of sport, music, and art to engage folks to understand where healthcare needs to go. And so I wanted to leave you with that thought. Hopefully it's opened your eyes. Hopefully you're challenged to be a little bit unreasonable and go forth in your ideas and in your quest with what you're doing with healthcare and data. And remembering health means life. So that's kind of the end of my presentation. I'll make these slides available for you. There's a lot of innovation happening around the world, and we didn't have time to cover them, but I just wanted to be unreasonable instead of giving you the reasonable stuff. Hopefully that helped you. Hopefully it opened your eyes, and hopefully it's opened the doors for the rest of the presenters to kind of seal what we've talked about. Okay? Thanks.
Thank you, James, for that powerful, inspiring, and enlightening presentation. Would you like to take questions now? Later? Okay.